For years, I followed the congressional hearings. I saw explosions. I saw dramatic confrontations. I saw someone shrink in their seat. But I saw a congressman, quietly, measuredly, and without raising a single word, make an FBI director's hands tremble for the first time. January 22, 2026, House Judiciary Committee. Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal from Washington's 7th District opened a blue folder and asked, "Director Patel, how many names have you personally concealed in the Epstein files? Not your staff, not your classification team, you." The silence that followed was not the silence of thinking. This was the silence of that familiar expression that appears on someone's face when they realize they have been masked. Watch the entire video, because these 4 minutes are one of the rare moments that showcase how documentary oversight works, or how it should work. But to understand those 4 minutes, one needs to grasp what was in the blue folder and how Jayapal accessed that folder, because this was not the result of a momentary anger, but of systematic preparation. Chapter 1. The Unusual Moment in a Routine Hearing. The session of the House Judiciary Committee on January 22, 2026, appeared ordinary from the outside. The agenda included the FBI budget, cybersecurity updates, and immigration enforcement, and everyone was expecting a routine congressional process where Republicans would defend Patel and Democrats would criticize. However, the atmosphere suddenly changed when Pramila Jayapal walked into the hearing room with a slim blue binder that morning. I noticed this detail because Jayapal usually doesn't bring props to hearings. With her clear memory and ability to reference testimonies from months ago without looking at notes, she is known for her sharp recall. Bringing a folder was a sign of something documented, something he wanted to see in front of the cameras. Kash Patel sat down at the witness stand with his usual confidence. Navy suit, FBI badge, 3 lawyers. This was one of his many congressional testimonies over the past few months. He knew the drill by now: deflection with technical jargon, using ongoing investigations as a shield, filling the time. The first 2 hours met expectations. Republicans asked about FBI successes. Democrats touched on civil liberties. Patel brushed both aside with the language of practical bureaucracy. Then Jayapal took the floor. Chapter 2. The Language of a Surgeon. When Pramila Jayapal opened the blue folder with a particularly heavy motion and said, "Director Patel, I want to talk about the Epstein investigation files released last month," the atmosphere in the room suddenly changed. Because questions about Jeffrey Epstein always created tension, but Jayapal's extremely calm and measured speech, devoid of anger or dramatic tone, felt like the precision of a surgeon who knows where to touch. Patel shifted slightly. "Congressman, as you know, we have committed to an unprecedented level of transparency in these files. We published thousands of pages of material that had previously been kept secret. I didn't ask him that." Jayapal's intersection was surgical in nature, without raising her voice. "I asked about the files you are hiding, not the ones you published, what you kept personally confidential." The 3 lawyers behind Patel leaned forward at the same time. It was like a choreographed panic dance. Patel's voice remained steady as he leaned against the edge of the table. "I don't personally make classification decisions on individual documents. This is done by career classification specialists within established protocols." Jayapal pulled a single page from the blue folder. He lifted the FBI letterhead, classification stamps, and official seal just enough for the cameras to see. "This is an internal FBI memo dated November 3, 2025. Subject line, Classification Review Declassification Authority." He paused. She put on her reading glasses. Jayapal never wears glasses during hearings. Never. The glasses carried a meaning. These words are conveyed as they are, documented, unfiltered. If you want to follow this type of corporate accountability analysis, subscribing to our channel is the easiest way. If you keep notifications on, you won't miss this kind of content. Let's continue. Section 3. The content of the memo, Jayapal began to read. According to the memorandum, while reviewing the release of documents related to the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, it was alleged that Kash Patel personally marked 47 witness statement files for removal from permanent confidentiality status, and that these statements directly identified certain individuals with significant political and financial influence. Additionally, it was claimed that the standard confidentiality removal procedures, which normally require the director's official approval, were suspended during this process. Jayapal raised her head. Signature, your Deputy Director of Counterintelligence. The hall erupted. The reporters started writing frantically. Whispers spread through the gallery. Republican members looked at each other. Patel's face went through 3 different expressions in about 5 seconds. Surprise that the memo was in his hands, quickly calculating how to respond, and something that resembles fears. The congressman is being taken out of context. Then put it in context. Jayapal's voice was icy cold. Explain to me and the American people watching, why did you personally block the release of the 47 witness statements identifying influential individuals connected to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes? 47 witnesses, Director. 47 people who came to the FBI, gave statements, revealed their names, and spoke. And you decided that the public should not learn what they said. Patel tried to gather himself in bureaucratic language. National security assessments, ongoing investigations, witness protection protocols. I didn't ask anything about the process, Jayapal interrupted without raising her voice. I asked why you personally invalidated the lifting of the confidentiality. This memo says you marked it. You suspended the standard protocols. So I will ask you directly, Director Patel, what are you hiding? The question hung in the air. Direct accusation. It's not an implication, it's not a suggestion. Literally, what are you hiding? Patel's mouth opened, closed, opened again. His lawyers weren't taking notes. They were frozen. Mr. Chairman, I would like to request a brief recess to gather documents that will comprehensively respond to Representative Jayapal's questions. The request was denied. This was Jim Jordan, Republican Committee Chairman, Patel's presumed ally. The shock on Patel's face was visible even from the press gallery. Jordan continued, if there is an FBI memo showing that you personally blocked the release of Representative Jayapal's witness statement, I think we all want to hear your explanation. Now, here. Now, here. Chapter 4. Patel's critical mistake. Kash Patel made a critical mistake here because instead of directly answering the question, he tried to portray the issue as a political attack by saying, I find it concerning that Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal's continued focus on targeting the FBI's classification decisions is receiving more attention than our ongoing work. However, Jayapal did not back down and pulled out another document from the folder, asking, Director Patel, do you know what this is? She then raised the document and said it was a letter from the United States Department of Justice Office of the Inspector General, dated December 15, 2025. He started reading. According to the allegation, the Inspector General reviewed Patel's declassification decisions regarding the Epstein files and identified multiple instances where witness statements were marked for permanent classification despite containing information that did not meet the established criteria for national security exemption. Jayapal looked directly at Patel. The Inspector General reviewed your decisions, Director, and he found that you violated your own classification standards. You prevented the publication of statements that do not have a legitimate national security justification. The room started to become chaotic. Democrats were demanding answers. The Republicans were trying to figure out how to spin the situation. Patel was visibly sweating under the committee lights. Chapter 5, File 2847-A. Let's be specific, Jayapal said, cutting through the noise. Witness Statement File 2847-A. A woman who worked at Epstein's New York residence in 2009. She named 7 people she saw in person. None of these people work in the field of intelligence. None of them have government security clearance. None of them pose a national security risk. Yet you permanently restricted his expression. Why? Patel's voice was tense. I don't have specific file details in front of me. Jayapal pulled out another page. I have one too. He read slowly, ensuring each word settled in. According to the statement, the witness had seen a prominent technology executive, a member of the British royal family, a Hollywood producer, 2 hedge fund managers, and a former U.S. senator. The dates, descriptions had been given, and he had indicated his readiness to testify in court. "And you buried his testimony, Director?" Jayapal's voice remained low but sharp. "You decided that you would not learn what the American people are saying, not for national security. The people he named are too powerful to be exposed." "This is not true." Patel's voice barely remained steady. "Then correct me. Which part is wrong? Explain why this woman's statement should be classified as permanent. Who are you protecting?" Silence. 20 seconds of complete silence. In congressional hearings, 20 seconds is an eternity. It is a wordless confession. Chapter 6. Political Complications. Patel finally gathered. He explained that the decisions were made in consultation with multiple agencies, intelligence partners, and legal advisors. Pramila Jayapal interrupted, saying, "The Director, the classification review notes, I have them right here," and then pulled out another document from the folder. According to the allegation, the Deputy Director of Intelligence had taken notes. Director Patel personally reviewed witness files from 2847-A to 2893-C and determined that despite any intelligence concerns, making the information public would create unacceptable political complications. "Siyasi komplikasyonlar, Director." Jayapal's voice carried a distinct weight. "Not national security threats. Not intelligence risks. Political complications. Is this the reason you are hiding the statements of 47 witnesses?" Patel tried another deflection. He said these internal negotiation communications do not reflect the final decision. "They reflect exactly what it is." Jayapal's voice remained sharp. "You were appointed as FBI director with a promise of transparency. You told the American people that the Epstein files would be released. You swore an oath before this committee. And then you personally blocked the hearing of 47 witnesses because what they said was politically inconvenient." The allegations were piling up. Each one is supported by documentary evidence pulled from the blue folder. And with each new document, Patel was shrinking a little more in his seat. If you don't want to miss these types of analyses, keep following the channel and subscribe. We regularly cover the developments of this process related to corporate accountability. Now, let's get to the most intense part of the story. Chapter 7. The last page of the blue folder. Jayapal pulled another page. "Director Patel," she said, her voice now carrying an absolute weight. "Do you recognize this name?" He lifted the paper. Maria Santos. She was 19 years old when she was trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein. She testified to the FBI in 2010. He named 6 people who harmed him. She said she could identify these individuals, describe them in detail, and was ready to testify in court. Jayapal's voice cracked slightly for the first time, the first real emotion. "You classified her expression as permanently limited." Maria Santos is now 34 years old. She has been waiting for justice for 15 years, and you decided that the men he named are more important than her right to be heard. The room froze completely, because this was no longer bureaucracy. It wasn't classification protocols. They weren't political complications. This was a woman who had been trafficked as a teenager and learned 15 years later that an FBI director had buried her testimony. "Director Patel," Jayapal said, "I have one last question for you. I want you to look into the cameras when you answer, because Maria Santos is watching, thousands of survivors are watching, and the American people are watching." He paused. "Why did you find protecting influential men more important than delivering justice to Maria Santos? Why did you find it more important to protect influential men than to deliver justice to Maria Santos?" Chapter 8. The Unanswered Question. Patel had nothing. No answer. What deflection? No bureaucratic language. He just sat down. His hands were slightly trembling. His face was pale under the lights. "Congressman," he began, but her voice broke. Jayapal spoke quietly. Pramila Jayapal said as she closed the blue folder, "I think this answer says everything we need to know. Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions." But I have a suggestion. I request this committee to subpoena all 47 witness statement files personally classified by Director Patel, all communications regarding these classification decisions, and all records of FBI contact with the individuals mentioned in these statements. I request that this committee subpoena all 47 witness statement files personally classified by Director Patel, all communications regarding these classification decisions, and all records of FBI contact with the individuals mentioned in these statements. Chapter 9. What happened outside the hall? From there, it turned into procedural chaos, demands, counter-demands, parliamentary procedure, but none of it mattered. The important thing was the clip. Pramila Jayapal's 4 minutes, those 4 minutes where she systematically questioned Kash Patel's claims with her own memos, her own classification decisions, her own words. According to reports in the public domain, the footage spread rapidly, with conservative media attempting to defend the situation, while liberal media called for resignations. As it was reported that the United States Department of Justice Inspector General's office was conducting an investigation, some commentators noted that it was at that moment Maria Santos first began to attract widespread attention. Chapter 10. Claim or reality? What do we know? At this point, it is necessary to be clear. The claims presented in this hearing include the following: whether the documents submitted by Jayapal exist as claimed, and whether their content has been accurately conveyed, has not been officially verified by independent sources. The content of the 47 files and the full justifications for the confidentiality decisions are not public. Statements from individuals like Maria Santos have not yet been examined in the official legal process. According to publicly available information, Pramila Jayapal claimed to have presented official FBI letterhead documents in front of the cameras and read them aloud, while Kash Patel did not explicitly deny the existence of the documents, but argued that they were taken out of context. Additionally, it was reported in public sources that the Office of the Inspector General of the United States Department of Justice initiated a separate investigation, and the official outcome of the committee's subpoena request is still unclear. What is important in this process is to distinguish between the allegation and the documented fact. If the documents presented by Jayapal are indeed as they contain, they raise serious questions regarding institutional accountability. But the answers to these questions will be shaped not in the Congressional hall, but in the legal process. Chapter 11. Why these 4 minutes matter. For years, I followed congressional hearings. I witnessed intense interrogations. I saw explosive confrontations. I saw someone cornered while defending themselves. But what Jayapal did was different from these. She didn't shout. He didn't put on a performance. He didn't try to produce a soundbite. He simply opened a folder and systematically asked questions with documents, names, and concrete expressions. And these questions, setting aside the language of bureaucracy, questioned the fundamental function of the institution. Which information is shared with the public? Which information is kept confidential? And whose interests do these decisions serve? These questions are not specific to this case. How privacy decisions are made in the digital age, who will oversee them, and how this oversight will function are questions that continue to be debated in every democracy. Jayapal's 4 minutes brought this discussion to the forefront through a concrete case. Sun, the icon of the blue folder. 47 files. A blue folder, 4 minutes, and someone who has been waiting for 15 years to hear his voice. Some hearings are procedural theater. Some are real moments of accountability. Which one was it? Legal proceedings are ongoing. The subpoena request is pending. The Inspector General's investigation is ongoing. But I can tell you this. When a member of Congress raises serious questions about the decision-making of a government agency backed by documents, the fallout is not limited to those 4 minutes. And sometimes, accountability begins not with months of investigations, but with someone asking the right question at the right time with the right documents. Jayapal asked. Patel's silence answered. If you liked this analysis and want to follow content on corporate accountability, subscribe to our channel and keep notifications on. We will continue to address developments related to this process here. You can share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about the oversight of corporate transparency and privacy decisions? See you in the next video.